So far, so good. It's not out of place for one to say that Saturday's governorship elections held in 28 states and the state legislative elections in all the 36 states of the Federation were conducted successfully, but not without acknowledging some hitches here and there, suggested by an interim report that polls were marred by electoral violence and vote buying, among other related offences. As it is in some states, the elections were regarded inconclusive and thereby INEC postponed, for re-election in some areas. However, reactions continue to throw the outcome of March 18 polls as a result of circumstances of voter suppression. What is the analysis after announcement of the governorship results? How has INEC fared in the conduct of the election? How did the parties fare? What were the issues raised that are causing the inconclusiveness of the polls? This is what our guests will be examining tonight on Nigeria Today. Welcome to the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. Joining me to provide more insight on the outcome of the March 18 polls is Dr. Nestor Nzeribe, Executive Director, Citizens Initiative for Community Development, as well as a journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Also joining us via Zoom is, for more on the conversation, is Dr. Aminu Hayatu, a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, and a resident researcher with the Center for Democratic Development Research Training. Glad to have you join us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Aminu, I will start with you. How would you assess the just concluded elections, the March 18 polls?
Once again, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And I think that, well, I would say so far so good. Anybody who is following keenly antecedents of elections in Nigeria must have seen a lot of changes with regard to both the conduct of the election, of course, and their outcomes. But by and large, one can say that there is a tremendous improvement even in the way that INEC, organizes and manages the electoral process. Even in terms of, on the side of politicians, there is also a change in experience and as well as the behavior of electorates during the conduct of elections. We have seen changes in terms of party loyalty. We have seen changes on aspects of, the changes that are against the normal way that we conduct our elections in Nigeria. And I think all of this have a great deal of bearing with the way and manner in which the Electoral Act has actually affected activities of elections in Nigeria.
Dr. Nzeribe, he has mentioned some of the things he observed, the changes in party loyalties and all of that. So what is your perception about the just concluded March 18 polls?
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me, and good evening, Nigerians, once again. Actually, the just concluded election further buttresses the fact that Nigerians are very much excited about democracy. It is a journey they are very much interested in continuing with. You can see from the man on the streets and even the active politicians themselves that Nigerians are very much interested in democracy. And it's an experiment they want us to further deepen. And like my colleague just mentioned, it is appearing as if Nigerians are no more tied in a rather fanatical way to party loyalty. They want to look at individual candidates and assess them on personal qualities and merits. not necessarily on party loyalty. Then we can also say that the umpire INEC, if actually it goes ahead to deepen its understanding and practice also of the new Electoral Act, that Nigerians will have a better democratic process going forward. Because when you look at the Electoral Act and the provisions contained in it, you realize that in a situation where the actors and the umpire strictly adhere to what has been provided, Nigeria's election will only blossom. Nigeria's democracy will only blossom. Thank you.
Dr. Aminu, you witnessed the elections in Kano. Were you surprised with the outcome, as it were?
Well, actually, the outcome is not surprising. Anybody who is familiar with the unique nature of Kano politics would always know that historically Kano is known for radical politics. Even since the time of Malam Aminu Kano, that tradition has been kept in Kano. Only, of course, with some changes from time to time. But if you look at it, actually the historical antecedents that preceded the election have actually been played out in the political space in Kano in such a way that there is a heated political space between the two major political parties, that is in Kano, the NNPP and the APC. And it has got a history because the former governor of Kano, the current governor of Kano State was once, a mentee of the Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso in Kano, who is now actually leading the affairs of NNPP in the state. So the Kwankwasia movement has generated over time. And with that, with the growth of that rivalry, of course, Kano became sharply divided into two, the camp of the Kwankwasia and the camp of the current governor.
Oh, it's like we've lost him there. Now, Dr. Nzeribe, looking at the outcomes of all the results, looking at the different states and what played out, would you say, or will you say you were not expecting it, or are you surprised or less surprised?
No. I cannot say that the outcomes so far are surprising, because the people actually prepared very well for this process. This particular election was well prepared for, especially the one we just had, the 18th of March version. Now, what happened on the 18th of March is that the people came out, the people believed, and they came out because they desired to move their nation forward. Everything that you see happen on the day of election happened because the people are enthusiastic. They want to actually, every individual desired to make his or her mark by casting his or her ballot. And what it produced, as we all saw, was a keenly contested election in every area, be it the state assembly's election or the governorship election. They were all keenly contested everywhere in all the states. Even those who had naturally felt that because of their position of incumbency or because of the popularity that they were taking for granted, that it was going to be a roller coaster, were shocked. So we can see that Nigerians are taking the politicians much more seriously now. They want to interrogate their intentions. They want to interrogate their programs. They don't want to eternally hang on to primordial issues or ideas. They want to now look at the development of the nation. They want to look at those who are really interested in moving the nation and their fortunes as individuals forward. And that's what actually played out in the keenly contested election of 18th of March.
Okay. Let's take a breather here and hear from Nigerians on the topic of discourse, as put together by correspondent Alika Opanachi Arua. Do stay with us.
This one is beyond expectation. In terms of security, I give it to the government. They really tried. They really tried. Things are being kept in place and it went well, because many are scared that what will be the outcome, what will be the reaction. But even those that have it in their capacity, in their mind, to make it a bloody event, they couldn't execute their plan, because when they see what is being in place, that when you go wrong, you'll be fired, which is very good. We should keep that up.
Election has come and gone. So my own opinion now is to encourage the youth. They should not relate their effort. They should keep on praying and fight. By the special grace of God, God will grant the favor.
I believe in a luta continua. Victoria must be certain. Now, Nigerians youth precisely should not give up on this country. This is the time for Nigerian youth to take over what belongs to them, because truly the future belongs to them.
Really, the election was very fantastic. This is the first election whereby people came out in mass to cast their votes.
The election is well, all right. But I pray that let God help the government so that our next election will be good.
Welcome back. It is still Nigeria today, and we are discussing outcome of March 18 polls. My guest is Dr. Aminu Hayatu, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, and Dr. Nesto Nzeribe, Public Affairs Analyst. Now, Dr. Aminu, you had the reactions of people there. I just say one or two things about what the people were saying. They talked about how the youths shouldn't give up on our democracy.
Yeah, sure. If you look at it, actually, you know, like I started saying before the network went off, of course, the election didn't come without some challenges. You would have noticed you know, there is pockets of violence across the states, and that intimidation attempts, you know, in places. We've also seen incidences where, you know, thugs are sponsored allegedly sometimes by ruling parties, sometimes by opposition, you know, going there to disrupt election in polling units, in collation centers, scatter the election materials and the process of election. And in some cases, even send everyone running for their lives. We have also seen, you know, witness incidences where some people whom are either sympathizers of political appointees or even, you know, some of the parties, you know, were caught red-handed and arrested by the security agents in an attempt to either snatch a ballot box or disrupt the election process. So, I mean, all of these things have actually happened in this election and have marred some of the election in some states. So it is important that, you know, as much as we record, you know, progressive development in our political, in our electoral democratic elections, we should also be mindful of some of those setbacks that we have experienced, because some of these electoral violence that have happened in some places actually, you know, started even during campaigns, from the comments and, you know, by politicians and the campaign that, you know, sometimes we hear politicians saying whoever does not, you know, vote our party or is not sympathetic to our party, get him beaten or disrupt the process or something like that. So I think it is important that we carefully, you know, dissect the election and see which are the areas that we need improvement. If it is INEC, which are those areas that INEC should improve, in terms of the election. And if it is the electorates or the politicians, what are those things that have actually gone wrong that we can continue to perfect our election process year in, year out?
Thank you very much. Dr. Nzeribe, we know we are not oblivious of the fact that there were lapses here and there during the last elections, even that of the presidential and all of that. There were lapses, there were faults here and there. However, what are the lessons we should learn from what played out, during these elections?
Okay. First of all, I think every serious observer who followed the process must congratulate Nigerians. The extent to which they endured and showed restraint, even in the face of provocations. It's like they were begging Nigerians to go rioting and show what used to happen in the past decades, in previous elections. But it's like Nigerians have allowed the democratic culture to sink in. Nigerians are becoming very much more mature in their democratic practice. So despite the various provocations that happened, both during voting or the collation of results or whatever, the delays that were nerve-wracking, all the issues that arose that actually gave them some psychological stress, Nigerians absorbed everything very well. And I think it's a very big lesson for the politicians. The politicians should understand, they should see from the behavior of the average Nigerian during this just concluded process that the Nigerian people are showing much more maturity. They seem to have learned much more about the ethos of democracy and are much more willing to go along to actually participate and deepen it more than the politicians themselves. I think it's a lesson. The politicians should go home, go to their various parties, let the political parties begin to organize, some further programs for their aspirants in elections, future elections, to actually let them understand that when you come out to serve the people and the people are very happy with democracy and they want you to show forth your democratic credentials, you should project same and let them see that you actually believe in the principles of democracy. Not that you come out as a Democrat, you want to participate in an election, and then you don't understand the rights of the people, where your own right as an aspirant begins, and where the people's right, the electorate, where you should not, whether they believe in you, whether they are your voters, whether they are your party supporters or not, you must learn to respect the electorate anywhere they are. Whether they belong to the opposite camp or to your own camp, the electorate must be respected.
You don't take them for granted, because they took a lot of people for granted.
That was part of the provocations that actually happened every now and again, and Nigerians were very held back. They restrained themselves. They showed a commendable maturity.
Dr. Aminu, I know you've highlighted some of the issues, some things that did not actually go well during the election. In your opinion, what do you think that should be corrected if our democracy would be stronger, or come next election for us to make it better? So what do you think should be corrected?
Well, if you look at it, there are a lot of lessons learned, like I mentioned earlier. Some of the lessons are positive and some of them are negative. But most importantly, that we have seen, in the record of our country, we are registering that as a record, that, electorates are going to the polling booths with a mindset, knowing very well who they are set to vote and for what reasons. We have seen how incumbency factor did not actually play out the way it used to be in the past. In the past, some people don't even go out to vote because they already know that the ruling party or the party in power is the one that is going to maneuver its way and, either retain power or bring in someone they are supporting. This time around, people have assessed political candidates on the basis of their history, on the basis of their records, on the basis of their antecedents, and even on the basis of their personality. And we have seen about, a number of state governors who are in power, who have opted to return to power, have actually lost out in the election. And there is nothing anyone can do because the rules are in place and the officials of INEC have actually lived up to people's expectations. They have not been seen to be romancing with with either the state government or the party that is in power. I think this is a tremendous improvement in our election. And we've seen also a situation whereby, when people have grievances against certain conducts in the election, they resort to the law rather than, taking up, instigating violence that is used to be before. We have seen situations in this country where when people lose an election, they instigate people to take to the streets and the result is electoral violence. But now it's always the court, and the court. So I think we are getting more matured and we are actually living to the expectation of the world that Nigeria's democracy is gradually maturing to the expectation, towards the global standard. And the other thing I want to mention is that the INEC itself has proved, to the people that the process of election in Nigeria can be as transparent as possible. You have seen a situation whereby the problems that were encountered during the presidential election of the beavers were quickly addressed, by the INEC, and we have seen improvement in that in the upload of election results in this state gubernatorial election. So, these are very important developments that when we observe everything, we understand that there is tremendous improvement in the maturity of the way we play politics in Nigeria.
Thank you, Dr. Nzeribe. He talked about a lot about what the politicians should do, and every other stakeholder. Now we are talking about the electoral umpire. What do you think that should be paid attention, where they should pay attention to in other, of course we're going to have other elections in the, as we progress. So what are the areas that you think that attention should be giving that will solve some, loopholes in these elections?
First of all, I think the INEC should pay more attention to early sensitization of the electorate. It's been said that it's also the political party's responsibility to educate and enlighten the electorate. But we know that the political parties are not doing much of that. So if it would take the INEC to keep on reminding them, while the INEC takes the lead, it should also not wait until a cycle comes, an election cycle comes. It should start as early as possible to educate the people. That is one. Then two, we have this perennial issue of late arrival of materials, logistics issues. And I begin to wonder, each time such a problem crops up, what will it take for a country? Nigeria is not extending in size. Okay, Nigeria is not extending in size. It is still the same size it used to be. What will it take us to really sit down and cross our T's and dot our I's where logistics and the delivery of electoral materials or election materials is concerned?
Thank you very much. And that's it on Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to our guests. Via Zoom, we have Dr. Aminu Hayatu, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano, and a resident researcher with the Center for Democratic Development Research Training. Thank you very much for your contributions.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And also Dr. Neston Zeribe, Executive Director, Citizens Initiative for Community Development, as well as a journalist and a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for your time and insight.
Thank you for having me.
And also, so you, our viewer, thank you for always being there. We appreciate you. And don't forget, Nigeria Today air weekdays at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am your carrier, Clinton. Thank you for watching.